Hi, this is Joe again with another review. I think in this video, I'm going to continue doing my reviews of the Rocky movie series. And of course, I left off during the second one, Rocky 2. Now I'm doing a review of Rocky 3, which of course came out in 1982. Now there was a trend in the Rocky films, at least through the first 4 of them, and came out like every 3 years. So they continue that trend in this film. Of course, also they have sciences. Whereas this year, the Rocky 3 came out in the year 1982. Damn. It always happens when I do these videos, going to a snippet. But this movie came out, Rocky 3 came out in 1982, which was a big year for Sylvester Stallone, because not only was Rocky 3 like the biggest one in the whole movie series, which we're going to get into further detail as the video goes on, but it was also the year where Stallone played another iconic character in the first movie of that particular series, which was of course Rambo. The movie was actually titled First Blood, which also came out in 1982. So it was a big year for Stallone. Well, of course, Rocky 3, of course, saw pretty much the whole same cast of characters, but this time you had a brand new villain. Because, of course, you're not going to bring in McCall Weathers was in reprising his role as Apollo Creed, but people are going to get tired of, Rocky keep fighting Apollo Creed again. I mean, how many times is he going to fight the guy? So they have to come up with a new adversary for Rocky. And so, of course, they come up with Clubber Lang, who was played by, in his very first ever role, Mr. T. Of course, and this was before he even got cast as the A-Team. I think the A-Team came out, maybe about a year later. Or at least that fall, I think it was. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember exactly when the A-Team started. I think maybe that fall or the next year, 1983, is when the A-Team started. So they got him just before he became such a huge star with the A-Team. And of course, if you go approach Mr. T in person, in real life, he is for what I've heard from people, he's like the nicest guy in the world. But when you're looking at him with the mohawk, with the beard, with all the rings on and the gold chains, and it was like Fort Knox with legs. And it was so muscle bound. It was like Fort Knox with legs. The guy. Now, not knocking Mr. T here, because the last thing I want to do is to get this guy mad and beat me up. But he was an intimidating figure, and with his deep voice, it goes, "I pay the fool." And all that type of thing. And so he got cast as a new, younger, more powerful adversary who could knock Rocky out, which of course he does in the first fight. But what of course with Rocky 3 started off with was was with a recap of the last movie in terms of the fight with Apollo, in terms of the recap, the last round, last minute or two of the 15th round of the rematch that ended the second movie. So of course when that happens, of course when he goes, "Yo, Adrian, I did," and he holds up the championship belt. That is of course where when Rocky 2 ended. So they picked it up again, and within the 3, and they do it like a little montage with the what's been going on with Rocky in the last 3 years. Then he had 10 matches. He defended his championship 10 times in the 3 years, which is a pretty good swing for any fighter, really. Imagine trying to do that, today, have 10 fights in 3 years. You'd be lucky to have a fighter do like 2 fights a year. Today, that's what boxing matches are today. You're lucky to have 2 matches in a year. But Rocky had 10 fights in 3 years. He was doing all kinds of charity work. Then all of a sudden, he does these commercials with like American Express. You see him do the Muppet Show, and if you look quick, you see clips of Sylvester Stallone on the Muppet Show, which he actually was on the Muppet Show. Now I don't remember exactly when the episode actually aired, but I do remember him being on the Muppet Show during the time of the Rocky movies, at least during the first two, or at least between the second one and the third one. And they actually used the clips from the Muppet Show in that montage in the beginning of Rocky 3. So all this stuff was going on. You have Clubber Lang who's brutally knocking out guy after guy after guy within the first round or two, and then he goes on and he starts moving up the rankings and eventually becomes the number one challenger in the heavyweight rankings. And so of course he wants to challenge Balboa. He wants to challenge him. He wants to fight him, and he receives Rocky's trainer Mickey in the audience during one of his matches. During one of Clubber Lang's matches, he says, "I want Balboa. You tell him Balboa that I'm coming for him. I want him real bad." All that stuff. And of course, during the opening sequence, you have Paulie, who's in the bar that was established during the first two films. The bar that was in the opening first movie says, now he's all of a sudden drunk, he's got bitter, that Rocky has all this success and Paulie doesn't. And so he takes out so Paulie walks to a local, video arcade. Remember video arcades, guys? He goes in there, he smashes a Rocky pinball machine, actually. And he got arrested for it. So Rocky bails him out, and Paulie decides to challenge him to a fight in a garage in the police station. And of course, he says, "All I want was a stinking job. You don't move me into your house. You got this big beautiful house. You don't move me in. You move Mickey in, but you don't move me in. What the hell, And of course, he calls him and Rocky calls Paulie a jealous bum, that type of thing. Well, and all ran into a long sense in that thing. But this Rocky movie has more action in the ring than any other Rocky movie before. Because usually the other Rocky movies build up, at least in the first two films, builds up to the big match at the end of the movie, which a lot of boxing movies are guilty of. This one has about 3 matches in it. I'm not just talking about the opening montage, which I just described, but they have 3 matches in this particular movie. And the first one is something that was going on during the 70s, which was a boxer versus a wrestler, or a professional wrestler. So because it happened with Muhammad Ali, when he fought the biggest wrestler in Japan, which was Tony Inoki. Chuck Wepner, ironically, was the inspiration for Rocky Balboa. Like I mentioned in Rocky 1 review, he fought Andre the Giant, on the same night, on closed circuit broadcast. So Stallone actually picked out Hulk Hogan from the wrestler, and Hogan made about like $14,000 to appear in Rocky 3. And this was like 2 years before he even won his first heavyweight title. It was like 2 years later, in 1984, in January 1984, when he beat the Iron Sheik. So this was, like I said, but 2 years before he was even, with the whole Hulkamania, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, do your training. This was before that. I think at that time Hogan was a heel. I believe in that time, in 1982. So it was weird, to see Hogan as a heel, and Hogan before he became a big shot. And I didn't know anything about wrestling in 1982. And then I started watching wrestling like 3 years later, so I didn't know Hulk Hogan from a hole in the wall. That was me. So to have an early appearance or pre-WrestleMania era Hulk Hogan versus Rocky, it was great, fun to see that. And of course, ironically enough, you had Mr. T in Rocky 3 as well. And he was, of course, with Hulk Hogan, ironically with Hulk Hogan, in the very first WrestleMania main event, 3 years later, 1985. So you have a lot of wrestling ironies with Hogan and Mr. T. So you had this match, the wrestler versus boxer match, and it was really fun to see. You get all these these girls that Hogan was with, that his valets, getting involved with the match, and Paulie got involved, and Hogan beat up Paulie, and it was really a zoo. And Clubber Lang was actually watching this thing in the audience. Really, can't believe how. And this guy is the heavyweight champ. I mean, this guy's a clown. Because Clubber Lang actually thought that Rocky was a clown, especially during this match. So then, after the match was over, you had Rocky getting a statue from the Art Museum, and that was an actual statue that was made for the film. Of course, like I said, the Rocky movies are so popular, especially down in Philadelphia, that they actually kept that statue there for a little bit, and then of course after all the hoopla with Rocky 3, and then of course when Rocky 4 came out, and then of course the 5th one, they had to put the statue back in the form of the Art Museum, just to film it for the movie. But when the hoopla dies down from the movies, then the Art Museum removed the statue because it's not art. A statue of a fictional movie character, they didn't consider that art, so they kept removing the statue all the time. And they made that a premise in the 6th Rocky film, which I eventually want to get into. So during these statue presentations, that's when Clubber Lang, Mr. T, interrupts the whole thing, because Rocky admits they all going to retire. Because I talked over my wife and my manager and decided to retire. Because I'm getting old and I'm not the same anymore, I want to retire. And that's when Clubber Lang says, "Oh, because you're chickening out, you don't want to fight me, so you retire me." So Rocky says, "Oh, I want to fight him." And then Mickey says, "No, he doesn't want to train Rocky for this fight." And then, of course, when Mickey walks off, was played with Burgess Meredith, or the legend is Burgess Meredith, walks off, and Clubber Lang says something nasty to Adrian. He said, "Why don't you come over to myself to my apartment tonight, and I show you what a real man is?" And then, of course, that's when they started the real bad blood between these two guys. At least with Apollo, when Apollo was challenging Rocky, especially in the second movie, he never crossed that line and attacking Rocky's wife. Clubber Lang did that. So now he really wants to challenge him and not retire because he assaulted Adrian. He's got to defend Adrian's honor now at this point. And Mickey says to him, "Look, this guy will kill you to death inside 3 rounds." I said, "You're crazy." And he says, "What?" I said, "Oh, I had 10 fights. I mean, I had 10 championship matches, and I won all of them." I said, "Yeah, but it was handpicked." And he said, "You mean setups?" I said, "No, it wasn't setups, because he picked fighters who Rocky could beat pretty handily. And because he felt that because the 2 beings he got from Apollo should have killed him. And it didn't. So he decided to pick fighters who weren't as deadly as Apollo Creed was, or when Clubber Lang is now. He didn't want to have Rocky go up against that type of a fighter. So he says, "Oh, they were good fighters, but not killing machines like Clubber Lang is." But Rocky went after him anyway. It kind of was light in his training, kind of like what Apollo was in the first movie. So they have some kind of parallels there, because Rocky didn't take Clubber Lang as seriously as when Apollo Creed didn't take Rocky seriously in the first movie. So there's kind of like some parallels there, and how Rocky was trained for Clubber Lang, like Apollo Creed was trained for Rocky. He was taking the fight too easy. Which, of course, what happens. Now, in the arena when they were at, they were coming down to the arena where the ring is, and they got into a fight backstage. Clubber Lang with Rocky, and Clubber Lang shoves Mickey, and he shoves him into the wall, and he starts to develop a heart attack. Mickey, which was implied that he has a heart problem during the fight that Rocky had with Hulk Hogan. So he gets upset over it. That's what Rocky does, and of course he wants to call off the match. And Mickey said, "No, I want you to go on the match, finish it, well, don't you?" And so he goes in the ring, and Rocky gets knocked down in the second round. Well, this was going on. Spoiler: if you didn't see the movie, Rocky gets knocked down in the second round. Apollo Creed watches this fight. He was sitting there as a commentator, and he saw that Rocky his mind was not there. His body was there in the fight, but his mind was gone. I mean, I'm not talking about brain damage. I'm talking about thinking about Mickey and worrying about these and Lachlan dying. That's good, and all this stuff. So after Rocky lost, he goes back to the locker room, and that's when he had the final scene with Mickey, and of course Mickey does end up dying in Rocky's arms, and they did have a funeral scene. You didn't know that Mickey was Jewish, and by the way, I know Richard Meredith was Jewish in real life, but his character was. So they had the funeral for him, and of course Rocky wanted to quit. He's upset that he lost. Now he's upset that he's lost his only real father figure in Mickey, who took care of him for so long, and now feel like he got betrayed by him because of all these setups. And of course, when Rocky is in the old gym in the set, that's when Apollo comes, which is a pretty good. Which I do have to admit, it is a pretty good plot twist. That's why I like this movie. Where do you expect? When I first saw this movie, way back in 1982, I didn't expect that Apollo Creed would train Rocky. And Apollo's trainer, who once again was played by Tony Byrne, was going to be training Rocky in this film. Well, somebody had to train Rocky, right? Because Stallone killed off Mickey. So I thought there was an interesting little plot twist that his old foe in the last two movies was going to be training him in this one, and training Rocky like you were trained at Black Fighter. In that time, intimidation in the eyes, and the eye of the tiger, and they use that theme through the whole movie. The song by the group Survivor, not the television show, but the music group Survivor, with the eye of the tiger. You gotta get that. You gotta get a look back in your eyes, so I can go back all the way to the beginning and remake Rocky. Really, and of course that's what happens. And at first, Rocky was not into the training that much, kind of like what it was in the second film. He wasn't into the training that much until, of course, when Apollo was wondering what's the matter with you, and he yells out, "What's the matter with you?" And all that stuff, and he goes, "There is no tomorrow." Also a famous line that Apollo has. So Rocky does snap out of it after a pep talk by Adrian, and then you have this big montage, and again going back to the montage to fight, with the rematch for Clubber Lang. Of course, this was the best, and this was really the first fight. This was the only real Rocky movie that you saw the full fights. Because like I said earlier, there was the three fights in this movie. There's the one with Hogan and the two matches that Rocky has with Clubber Lang, and you saw the full fight. And not after the like the first round or two, then you have like a montage during the fight, and then you saw maybe the full 14th or 15th rounds. But this time, the first match with Clubber Lang was only like two into the second round, and was knocked out halfway through the second round, and then the rematch was only 3 rounds. So you saw the full fight, and also not only that, but this movie at the time, on the first 3 films, was like the shortest film. It was about an hour and 40 minutes or an hour and 45 minutes. It was like the shortest one at that time, out of the first 3. Well, the next one's the shortest one with an hour and a half, but I'm going to get to it when I do the review for that one. And of course, this match, unlike the first 2 matches with movies with Apollo Creed, this match was in Madison Square Garden. and so you had, Rocky being Big Surprise being Clubber Lang in this one in 3 rounds, and it was really a brutal fight. I mean, and I don't think you need with these two fight the way that Rocky was trained for this fight. You don't need to go 15 rounds, and they mentioned that in the movie with Apollo and his old trainer says if we after 7 or 8 rounds it's going to run out of steam, so we have to have Rocky beat this guy in less than 8 rounds, otherwise he's going to be dead, run out of gas. So that's what happened, and of course the movie does end with a scene that's actually going to open the 4th movie with Rocky and Apollo in Mickey's gym, and they're going to fight one more time in the ring with no reporters, no media, no fans, no big arena or anything like that. Just the two in this ring in a small gym, fighting. Because he wants to fight one more time. In this made-up thing, like a sparring match, really. And it was kind of fun to see the two of them in the ring one more time in the movie. And of course, during the closing credits, you had the full song "Eye of the Tiger," and of course, that's the way Rocky 3 ended. Of course, Rocky winning again. And of course, I should also mention that Rocky 3 was also directed for the second time by Sylvester Stallone, and he did a pretty good job with these movies. Actually, the only movie they did a lousy job on was the sequel to Saturday Night Fever, but that's another story for another day. So that's my review of Rocky 3. Please click on the video, feel free to comment on it. Please subscribe to my channel, and please forward this video onto your Facebook pages. You can check out all my reviews and all on my YouTube channel at rallyc.com. That's OWDY, and that's C.com. Homepage to the Rally Reviewer, Chris Lee Moore, and please check out all of his videos on his website. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.